this week was a highlight to geopolitical issue of a region or a country of my choice. Hello Open House, I'm a delegate of Afghanistan today. The war that started in 2001, triggered by the events of September 11 attacks, left the country in a total state of panic, chaos and gave rise to the civil war. It consisted of three phases. The first phase was toppling the Taliban, the ultra-conservative, religious and political faction that ruled Afghanistan and provided sanctuary for the Al-Qaeda perpetrators of the September 11 attacks. It was brief, lasting 2 months. The second phase from 2002 until 2008 was marked by a US strategy of defeating the Taliban military and rebuilding core institutions of the Afghan state. The third phase, however, a turn to classic counterinsurgency doctrine, began in 2008 and accelerated with the US President Barack Obama's decision to temporarily increase the US troop presence in Afghanistan. The larger force was used to implement a strategy of protecting the population from Taliban attacks and supporting efforts to reintegrate insurgents into the Afghan society. The strategy came coupled with a timeline for withdrawal of foreign forces from Afghanistan, beginning in 2011. Security responsibilities would gradually be handed over to the Afghan military and the police. The new approach was largely failed to achieve its aim. Insurgent attacks and civilian casualties remained stubbornly high, while many of the Afghan military and police units taking over security duties appeared to be ill-prepared to hold off the Taliban. By the time the US and NATO combat mission finally ended in December 2014, the 13-year Afghanistan war had become the longest war ever fought by the United States. The joint US-British invasion of Afghanistan in the late 2001 was preceded by over 2 decades of war in Afghanistan. At least 276 pro-government forces and 78 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan so far this month. People have been suppressed and filled with rage. There is no estimate of how this works, as people are uncooperative and do not serve as a reliable source of statistics. Although the war in Afghanistan is already one of the deadliest, the risk is high that it might intensify in 2021. There are two main scenarios for increased violence. First, if the United States withdraws all the forces this year without a political settlement, the peace process would collapse, and the scramble for power that will ensue would likely lead to the country into a bloodier, multi-sided civil war. Second, if the United States blow past the May deadline without reaching a new timeline understanding with the Taliban, or decides to maintain an indefinite, even a small military mission, then the Taliban would once again contest the US presence and violence would likely rise. In either of these two scenarios, the disappointment of the regional countries that are expecting the United States to leave and the Taliban to gain a share of legitimate power would probably manifest in increased supports to the insurgent group. If peace process plods along during 2021, then more or less a status quo level of violence is most likely. The Taliban probably will not agree to the ceasefire until they secure significant political benefits in exchange. The best scenario for violence reduction would be dramatic progress in the peace process, but this is the least likely scenario for 2021, as it would be virtual. Thank you, and this is where the video ends.